Hey, if you've ever listened to our show and thought to yourself, I think I want to make a podcast, but I don't know where to start, start with Anchor. Anchor is a platform that has all the tools you need to record and edit your podcast, right from your phone or computer. Using Anchor allows you to distribute your show to platforms such as Spotify, Apple, Google, and so many others. The best part is that it's totally free. So if you want to get started, you can download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm. Microphone and nerds, welcome to another episode of The Bandwagon Fan. This is the show where we talk about all things pop culture. I'm Josh.
I'm Alex.
I'm AJ.
And here we are. The boys are back at it again. What's up, guys?
Nothing much, man. Feeling fresh and clean.
Fresh and clean. How can you feel fresh and clean after that major loss that we suffered this morning?
We don't talk about that. That was sad. That was pitiful.
I woke up
for
at
those who don't know,
7 a.m. to watch.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's right. That game was really early for you. It's like nighttime over there.
I woke up at 7 a.m. to watch a bunch of grown men kick a ball around and lose at the same time.
Yeah, for those who don't know, today the U.S. was eliminated from the World Cup in an embarrassing loss. Man, that was embarrassing. But at the same time, we know we don't care about football. We care about American football. So
you heard it here.
To all our British fans out there, come at us.
Yeah, please let us know. I don't know. I watched a lot of the World Cup. I didn't really think the U.S. was going to get far, so I was like, hey, unfortunately, I think this World Cup, I think this World Cup is just overshadowed by the fact that it's like in Qatar, and Qatar is not like a super like PC place to live, and yet the whole world's there. No one can drink at the games, which if you don't know, that's like the only thing you do at a football game. You drink, so no one can drink alcohol. You can't like dance. It's a hot mess. It's a hot mess. But hey,
allegedly,
we're here, guys. Yeah, we're here.
Here we are, and we're back at it. We're going back over to Middle Earth today.
We're rewinding a little bit.
Just kidding. I know you guys did an episode without me, but
no, I mean, it was just like an intro. We checked out the beginning of the show. I think Amazon released the first 2 episodes.
I believe
when
so.
It dropped.
Same time.
Yeah. So when the first 2 episodes had dropped, Josh and I watched it, and we had a lot of thoughts. And now we get to see the culmination of it. And I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts about this show, but I think for anyone to kind of recap a little bit, I mean, this show, Amazon paid like oodles and oodles of money. They basically rolled out the bank. $1 billion, right? Yeah, they roll out $1 billion. I think each season is like $250 million, which is nuts because it's like, there are movies who don't get like a quarter of that budget.
Yeah, this was the most expensive TV show currently ever made. Someone will top it.
Someone's going to top it. But they put a lot of eggs into this basket. And, Josh knows about this a little bit more. Maybe you do too as well, Alex. But like Amazon only had like specific types of rights to make this show. They didn't have like the full gamut of the Tolkien estate, the Tolkien estates. I guess you could say like there are parts of this larger story that they couldn't reference in the show, and I think that's also a hurdle that everyone was really interested to see how they were gonna come out of that.
And they did it for better or for worse. They did it their way. It was, I can't imagine trying to navigate that, the legal stuff combined with like the storytelling. Like it sucks that we live in a world where it's like you have to be so cognizant of what you legally can and cannot use in an IP, in an intellectual property. But I mean, that's just the way it goes, and this is the show we got, for better or for worse. Last time I said I was kind of, interested to see, kind of hanging on the bandwagon, hoping that the season would continue to be better. But that's what we're here. We're here to see how the rest of the season ended up.
And we're here to see if any show can get more expensive than this one. Like seriously thinking about that, like, is there another property that could cost as much as this? Like, just think of any
Halo.
property in general. The what?
A real Halo, a properly done Halo show, not whatever the PBS. I don't know what PBS is doing, or not PBS, Paramount is doing with the Halo.
You mean a Halo where they actually have read the books or played the games?
It's like as if the director.
They said they did not.
He has not read, or yeah, exactly. The director legitimately said, which, if he didn't want to reference the games, that's fine. The books are, I think, a lot more. There's a lot more context in the books.
Yeah, then for sure.
He doesn't reference the books, so we get a really awkward Master Chief sex scene where he loses his virginity. That was weird. We get like an IRL Cortana. It is wild, and so the whole point of all that is just to say that a lot of times shows like this, when they reference their source material, it makes the fans nervous, right? You guys hear me say all the time that one of the things I look for in a movie or TV show is the tone. Like, who are you making this for? Say what you want about the Fast and Furious movies, but they know their audience, okay? They know their audience. They're like, look, people are here for women and cars. That's it, okay? The plot doesn't matter. We're just going to throw every actor in Hollywood in these movies like a freaking MCU. Like, they know their tone. And so watching this show, what do you guys think the tone of this show? What were your thoughts about it?
It was very much, hey, check out our Game of Thrones thing. It's cool. It's nerdy. There might not be a dragon, but it'll still be kind of cool. Hey, if you're a hardcore fan, here's that one thing in the book and that one person, but we can't use this person, so we'll have this person instead. And the fact that I'm saying this person being super vague is like what they kind of had to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to describe it. I'd like to say that the show was catered to the super fans, but seeing how this came apart, or how this came to be, I think Jeff Bezos just said, I want the most expensive show ever and I want it now. And then Amazon was like, hey, so Lord of the Rings, we could buy that. And he's just like, all right, I'm going to show up in those meetings and I'm going to negotiate that, and we're going to have that. And you guys are going to release something in like 2 years, and it needs to come out no matter what. And I don't care what it is. I'll save my thoughts on it until the end, but that's kind of what I got from like reading all of the content
from the tone. Yeah, from the tone of it. I felt like the tone was kind of a mix between what you guys both said. I think that they are trying to create a quote unquote fresh IP for their streaming service. And then what Alex said, that it was also the intent of like, let's stick out. So let's make the most expensive show ever. And I think there are things that, and we'll get into it here in a second, I think there are things that worked. I think there are things that you could tell there are a lot of inexperienced showrunners, right? Not inexperienced like industry people, just like show running, I think is different than writing for a TV show, right? So like there are inexperienced like components to this. And yeah, I mean, I think without getting into it, like, let's just kind of pick up where we left off after like that second episode, right? This story follows really, I guess we could say three characters, 4 characters. Like I don't know. I feel like the new elf bro,
Arondir.
Arondir. I don't know if we follow him enough to like say he's a main character. You know what I mean?
Which is interesting because I felt like he was going to be a main character. And I said that he was probably my favorite character in the series.
Yeah.
Which was cool because he's an original character, which again shows like if you're going to kind of wing it, quote unquote, like go for it all the way.
You need a strong original.
Yeah.
Right. So, we have him, we have Galadriel, we have Elrond, Then we have Nori, one of the Hobbit ancestors. And yeah, I guess we can break up the story into like 3 major parts. And where we left off last time, Galadriel jumps off the boat, doesn't want to go to heaven, and like we're kind of wondering like who found her, and it turns out it's the Numenorians. It was Elendil, and I think I said that in the last episode that was my prediction.
That was your guess. I think so too. Yeah. And in this section of the story is Galadriel is trying to convince the Numenorians to come back with her to Middle Earth, because she's like, hey man, I know Sauron is up to something, and I know he's there. And the Numenorians, they're preservationists. You know, they're very much like, we are here on this island explicitly to protect us, you know, so our interests really don't expand beyond this island. And you know, she basically has to evoke their honor. At least that's how I felt, like, you know, and be like, hey, like, you took a vow, took an oath, you know, remember those oaths.
Yeah, it's very much like Numenor first kind of thing, and they're shying away from the old ways. They used to be cool with the elves. They used to be cool with the gods, and now they're all like, nah, we don't do any of that stuff now. Like, I'm here for me and my own. That's it.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is like the base plot to like every fantasy.
Yeah.
It's a pretty, yeah, because it's pretty historical. You're right. That's a good point.
And well, I've really felt like the biggest purpose of introducing Numenor here at this point is because, as I was told by my friend who's very into Lord of the Rings, that I guess what's the dude? Okay, look, I have watched Lord of the Rings like a really long time ago, so I can't remember any of the names. Is it Aragorn?
Yeah.
Is it okay? Aragorn's ancestor.
Strider.
Okay. So his ancestor is from Numenor. So one of these? Yeah. I think it's Isildur. Isildur is the
technically.
Like, is.
I think even if you don't watch, if you watched Lord of the Rings like one or two times and then knew nothing about it, you'd see like the actor that plays here and be like, oh, he kind of looks like Viggo Mortensen. That's probably
right. Yeah, I mean, I feel like one of the advantages, because I know a big point of contention of this show and the $1 billion that they spent was some people don't like the CGI as much. And Josh and I, Alex, had talked about in the preview or the episodes 1 and 2 recap that I think the advantage to the CGI is that they can present areas or parts of a story that I don't know if they ever would be able to do with just, you know, practical sets. Like Numenor looks like a different world almost, right? And I think that when you look at it from the perspective of like, well, they're trying to show you an entire city kingdom, really, I think they did a good job, at least from a graphics or
well, I think too what's interesting with that is like I actually think this is probably this is the best CGI I've ever seen in a TV show.
Thank you. That's what I said. Yeah.
I think they did a really good job of blending CGI and practical, because there was actually a lot of times where I had to like look really closely and be like, I'm not sure here. Like, is that CGI or some type of like
old school? That $1 billion.
Yeah. No, I mean that was better CGI than some movies have.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
This show, it looks phenomenal from that.
Yeah, it looks. I think the coolest thing about this are the use of their colors. I think when you compare it to a show like Game of Thrones, it's very drabby, very muddy. You know, everything's always murky, and there's so many colors in this show. That's one of the things that keeps you visually arrested to what's happening, at least on the screen. You know?
Oh yeah, I watched. I've only watched the first episode of House of Dragons, but it just reminded me. I was watching it at Kate's house, and there was a little bit of sun coming in, and like the TV was backlit, but like every show we'd been watching was completely fine. That show, the scenes were still so dark, and like I think just that I had to like we had to switch to her laptop at one point, and at one scene I went, holy crap, there's actually an entire fight scene. It was just one guy yelling, and like maybe there'd be people nearby, but like they were there. It was so dark. Like I know we're not sorry now, but shame on you, House of Dragons. You guys are like, the cinematography is complete shit, and I hate it, and I won't watch it.
Yeah, and that's and I almost feel like I know this. I mean, look, this is just my opinion. I hope I don't get roasted for this, but it felt like I was watching like a graphic novel come to life. You know what I mean? I think I could have sworn that Josh and I had even said something like this before, that it reminds me of like what Zack Snyder does when he does a comic book movie, that it's like he's making imagery so palatable to your face, where you're like, wow, this is really cool. You know what I mean? And I felt that in this Numenor plot, that it was just at least interesting to be there. I think the parts I didn't really like, and I think this is probably a theme that we'll hit on a lot throughout talking about this show, is that I didn't really feel like the show did a good job of sitting in a lot of places. Like, we don't really care about Alendi's, reasoning for, wanting to stay, or why the Numenorian people may not be super excited to help elves. I mean, I feel like we move through too much of the plot way too fast. You know what I mean? We literally jump every episode. We jump from person to person to person, and we never resonate with them. So when things happen later in the season, you don't really care. Like, you're just like, oh, okay, well, it's the next part.
I think that's a byproduct of, well, one, attention spans are just shorter, TikTok and all that stuff. But also, like, with the MCU, I think that's forever changed cinema, where you have these gigantic worlds that audiences, they bought into the MCU, and that took years. And now everyone's trying to like quickly like throw that together. And I kind of feel like we saw that here. I'm going to talk about that in our House of the Dragon episode. We saw that with what DC has been trying to do. Like, it's just like, you're trying to create this world for your IP. Like, just slow down. Like, don't cancel the show. Give it time. Let's play this out.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, like, I don't know about you guys, I'm okay with like world building and like having, multiple connected movies and multiple connected shows. Like, I'm actually okay with it. The problem I have is that we're never getting one movie, right? We're never getting one TV show. You're always constantly trying to sell me on the next season or the next show. And it's like, I'm still watching this one. Like, we're still here. Like, don't throw,
There's going to be a spin-off on Poppy and Theo and every other character at some point. It's going to happen.
It's going to be called The Harfoots.
Character, but like, I wouldn't be surprised with that. And I do enjoy slow world building, but I think we're part of the group that doesn't need, like, I don't need a spin-off of everyone. I think that's what made the original.
Everyone, yeah.
So interesting is a lot of the characters just exist there, and then like you don't see them outside of that world. So like it makes you a lot more invested on like what's happening to them like on the screen.
Exactly. Like if you invest well enough into a character, like I don't need to know what they're doing, in between scenes in a totally different show. Like I don't need to know that.
And the proof of that is what I felt was the strongest part of the entire show, Elrond's story arc. I felt like this was the part of the show where I'm like, hey, do more of this. Like, you're telling a really interesting story here. You're doing actual character building. And I care about these people. I care about the dwarves, and I care about Elrond's guilt. And I care about his motivation, because you're taking the time to explain this stuff. Like, we're not just glossing over it. And like, I think on one hand, maybe that's because they literally spend almost the entire season in what's the mountain called?
Moria.
Because it's not Mount Doom yet, right? It's just
Mount Doom. So it's Moria. It's the place where Gandalf dies in Lord of the Rings,
and he becomes Gandalf the Grey, right? Afterwards, or the White. Oh, he is Gandalf the Grey.
He falls off the bridge.
All right. Well, we'll get there. We'll get there later. The point is, this part was very interesting. I felt like they did exposition well in these parts. Even though I still didn't love the super vague, the elves are dying, we need help. I'm like, of what? What's killing you? What is happening? I'm like, what? I don't understand. What is this metal doing for you? Stupid. but other than that, I love what is the dwarves name? I cannot remember. Sorry guys, it's been like
Durin.
3 months. Durin, thank you. I love Prince Durin, and I
It's been like
love
100
Elrond.
years since we've watched
Did you
this.
say?
I said it's been like 100 years since we've watched this.
It's only 20 minutes in elf years, Alex. Okay, but like no, I love Durin. I really like his character a lot, and I like his motives. He's a unique character. You know, he's short tempered, I'm assuming dwarves are probably known to be, and it's such a contrast to Elrond. They have this good cop, bad cop type of thing. That was the only part of the show that I'm like, this is the only thing that is, from a character level, I should say, is working for me.
And his wife, I think her name was Nisa. She was awesome. I loved her.
Yeah, she's great.
That whole the dynamic between the three of them was fun, funny, heartfelt, sad. Like it played all the emotions, and it kept you engaged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I know people were annoyed at first, like, oh, all the elves or all the dwarves are supposed to have beards. And I'm like, I'm okay with Decent not having a beard.
Actually, we talked about that last time, Alex, and apparently that's a Peter Jackson joke. That's not in the books at all. That's a joke that Peter Jackson put in the Lord of the Rings movie, and people just assumed that was canon. And so, yeah, you know,
myself included.
Yeah, Peter Jackson is canon at this point to me.
No, but you know, in this part of the story, Elrond's arc is basically they're looking for Mithril. They, you know, Durin basically is like, "Don't worry, we got your back, at least with this little chunk of it." And then Balrog, I think his name is
Balrog.
Balrog is like, I guess, like this plot of them mining for the Mithril is what wakes up Balrog. So we see him at the end of, I think, episode 7.
So Balrog, it's not his name, but it's what he is. It's a species.
It's like Ragnarok.
See, so he's technically the same species as Gandalf or Sauron. They're I think they're called Maiar. Yeah, they're like angels in Tolkien's world. Yeah, they're like the same like species type of thing, but just different manifestations. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Would have been nice to, you know, find that out in the show, but that's neither here nor there. You know, there's not much to say about that plot. They get the Mithril that later makes the rings, and there's impending doom later on. So there you go. And then the other arc, I guess you can say, is Nori. This was the part of the show that I'm like, yo, I do not care. I don't care about these little people and their little people problems. They're cold-blooded, first of all. They abandon the weak or the slow when they go on their migrations. Like, I'm like, that's really cold. They're not really focused on like unity. They're focused on the journey, I guess you can say. What did you guys think of the Nori arc and the not hobbits?
It didn't bother me as much as I think it did you. I think what annoyed me though was because we're jumping to so many different like worlds and stuff within Rings of Power. Sometimes they would like go so many episodes or so much time without this arc that I would forget about it, and then it'd come back and I'm like, oh, you're still just walking. That's all that's happening right now, and I'm like, that's like, I feel like that's primarily like 80% of the plot is just walking, and I'm like, cool. So all right, so we're back to that, and I didn't need to see that, and I also thought for like, you know, for being like the world building of the Hobbits, I don't know. I just like expected. I think I expected a lot more like humor and banter between them, and
that's really kind of my point. Yeah,
there wasn't much humor. I'm like, aren't you guys supposed to be fun? I mean, like a couple of them were fun, but as a whole,
they were kind of dicks. They were kind of dicks to each other and like dicks to everyone. I'm like, yo, I don't like these little people. They're kind of jerks. I don't know, Josh. What do you think?
Yeah, no. Like Alex brought up a great point that I totally forgot about. But as I was watching the show, there's a lot of cuts, different weaving storylines, and I'd be like, oh wait, there's the Harfoots. Like I forgot about them, and I really enjoyed them at first. I was like, oh, this is kind of like a fun thing, seeing like the origins of the hobbits and what they did before they lived in holes. That's cool. The humor is like very to me like very dry British English humor. So like I kind like I thought it was funny, but yeah, like they're cold, they're savage, and again, like I guess that kind of plays into like this is what they used to be like before they were all fat and jolly and lived in holes. So
Right.
But
like
I don't
I
care
see.
about the pre. I don't care about the prequel to them. I just want fat and jolly. That's all I need.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I guess one thing you do see is like there are hobbits, Harfoots, whatever, that had that streak of rebellion, adventure, and all that.
Sure.
So you see in
Yeah.
Nori, and that with the whole thing with the stranger, like that was cool, but really slow
We
because the
only
whole
got the
time,
cool part at the end,
yeah,
you know? Yeah.
there were a
Also,
lot of little hints of what was going to happen,
Yeah.
but
yeah,
you didn't really the payoff was like it was too extended in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. And also, I think we all said, like, that's Gandalf. That's
it was too
very clearly Gandalf. Yeah. So I don't know why we waited for the tease, because they don't actually wait. I don't remember. Does he actually even say his name? He just
No.
says the thing he says. So you got to follow your nose, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't say anything, but I think anyone that would have instantly seen him was like, yeah, that's 100% Gandalf, because we don't know enough. I feel like most people don't know enough about other wizards within this world. Like,
Yeah.
voices really. I'm guessing.
That's Craig the Old. Yeah, no, we don't know any other ones, and so I just thought that tease was a little. It wasn't as interesting as the other reveal, which we'll get to in a quick second here. But what you had to say, Josh?
Yeah, so I guess the whole thing with Gandalf was so he's an Astari, which is what the wizards are called.
Okay.
And the Astari are a subset of Maiar or Maya, forgot which tense, which plural, whatever it is, or singular. But so it's like the same thing as Saruman. Remember the other wizard?
Yeah, the other
Or,
old white dude.
Radagast from The Hobbit.
Okay. Yes.
Same species as Sauron, though, as well.
Okay.
And a few other things. So like there was ambiguity. There's also two blue wizards that we never hear about in Lord of the Rings, and like there's just rumors about what they were doing, leading up to the whole War of the Ring. So like there were things where I was like, oh, it could be this, could be that. 99% it is Gandalf because they confirm it's an Astari. The people think he's Sauron at one point, but then they're like, oh no, he's an Astari. So it's like, okay, he's probably Gandalf. Then he has the whole thing, follow your nose. Yeah, that's 99.9% Gandalf.
It's also Toucan Sam.
Watch season 2.
Mascot.
Toucan Sam. It's just
Toucan Sam. He's a wizard.
The whole thing, the wizard thing was cool. It was just too drawn out for my liking, and it sounds like for you guys as well.
Yeah. And I think the only other arc was I hate saying his name. Is it Arondir? Arondir. Thank you. Arondir's arc really just comes to a real halt after he escapes from the work camp.
Can we talk about the orcs real quick though?
Yes.
This was something that. So like when I first saw the orcs, I was like, man, the visuals, like the costumes, whatever it is, like they did such a good job. Like I felt like they just look terrifying, and it felt like Lord of the Rings. But then like I felt like the more we interacted with them, it started to become like darker and darker and darker, and then it was like, oh, this is actually like really gory, and there's a lot of things that
people said
like,
that
like Game of Thrones to me, and it didn't feel like the personality and charm of Lord of the Rings to me. But like, am I just crazy? Am I just like, I just felt like this, I was expecting this to be less violent than it was, I guess.
I think Josh and I kind of hit on that. Josh and I hit on that when we reviewed the first 2 episodes, and we were hoping that the orcs would have been like intelligent, if that makes any sense. Like, we brought up the games, and like, I was telling Josh that my favorite part about the War for Mordor and Shadow Mordor games are that like the orcs have their own like political system, and like they are
stuff.
Yeah, and they. I felt like that's cool. That gives bigger context to like fighting orcs as opposed to just like, oh, orcs bad, human good. You know what I mean? And I remember reading a review for one of the episodes when it came out, and the author wrote something. I was like, I never really thought of it that way, but he basically said something along the lines of like, after when the evil townspeople start the whole Mordor terraforming thing so that the orcs could live, he was like, orcs are in this world, and so they deserve a place to live. So why shouldn't they have a place? And I'm like, I guess I never really thought about that. Like that's a good point, that they're here. They're not, you know what I mean? Like the trees have somewhere to live because they're trees. Dwarves have somewhere to live because they're dwarves. Why can't, orcs, like these are the kind of like the parts
you have to kill them.
Exactly. And I feel like that's part of the story where it's like, okay, well then I don't really care about the orcs because we don't know anything about the orcs. They're just bad. They're just bad and they cut. And then of course, like you said, Alex, like, and then we get into like, the gory, and I'm like, oh, okay.
they tried to do that though. They like tried to make you care and sympathize, and the Adar story aspect. That one elf he used to be an elf,
Yeah,
and
he was
tortured by Morgoth, and that's how orcs were created. And he claims to be like the first Uruk. Like they tried to do that with his storyline of like, hey, like these are my children. I love them. I want them to have a home. But again, like you have to build. You can't just like throw it at us. You have to build up on that
in there. It can't be 2 sentences. Yeah.
I did like this arc overall, though. I thought this
it's the best one. Yeah.
It's been a few weeks now since I've seen it. Was this all the last episode, or was it through the last 2 episodes?
It was like the last 3. It was like the last 3 or 4 episodes.
The last 2 episodes mainly, I felt like I was really on, like I was really focused and like on the edge of my seat for a lot of it. I say on the edge of my seat, but I was really lounged in my couch.
tucked neatly in the couch. No, I would agree. I think the battle between the townspeople and the orcs, I think that's when the show, in my opinion, really picked up. I like that, the fight scene with Arondir and some of the other nameless orcs. And then I also, a moment I did really like in that is when the townspeople realized that the people they were killing the whole time were the other town people who left. So I was like, dang, that's super dark. Like, geez, dude. That stuff was interesting. And I think it paints a picture. I know a lot of Lord of the Rings fans were probably like, oh, this is a little bit dark for Lord of the Rings, but it does paint a realistic picture of what happens with this corruption, right?
Yeah. No, and like there's some pretty dark stuff in Lord of the Rings that people aren't aware of, more so in like the appendices in Silmarillion. Like there's, like torture and maiming, and there's even incest in a Tolkien story, believe it or not. Like there's some in suicide, like there's some dark, messed up stuff. And I'm for exploring it, and like it makes you think. Tolkien wrote in a way that made people think. Yeah, escapism, but like there's darkness in that too.
Yeah, I liked the last 2 episodes. I thought they were really engaging. And I mean, I guess we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the twist at the end of the season. What a twist! M. Night Shyamalan type twist that even got readers of the books and stuff off guard. But yeah, Halbrand is Sauron. That was the big twist. Not only does he help forge the rings himself, but then he's like, I've been here the whole time. So what did you guys think of that twist?
I kind of saw it coming, actually.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
I thought he was, I thought it was obvious that he was a bad guy, but I didn't see that specifically. I thought he was like I could see him being like, I thought he was going to be like a minion or messenger of him. And I thought maybe they'd reveal like the Sauron information in season 2. So I was actually surprised on how quickly that happened. So caught me off guard.
I was surprised. I don't know where Sauron like fits in the actual like real timeline and stuff like that. So I just thought he was like Alex said, like some envoy, some dude, and he's like, I'm Sauron's brother, Charon. So like it was actually him, and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't really understand, and maybe you guys can explain to me. Like, I didn't understand his motive. Like, what is he trying to do? Like,
So there's been some good character studies about Sauron because
okay,
like I said, he's a Maiar. Like he technically is like a fallen angel. And
sure.
so he followed Morgoth, the original Dark Lord, who was like another like high tier angel type of thing,
Mm,
the most powerful one. He's like a god, and like Sauron, like there's arguments that he just wants there to be order in the world so badly that he'll do whatever he needs to do to make that happen. And like they kind of tap into that in the show where he's like, hey, like we can save the world, we can fix things, we have to do some terrible stuff, but like the world will be okay.
okay.
That's kind of his thing, and like in the lore, like in the source material, like he does show the elves how to make the rings of power, and then that's how the whole War of the Ring starts to come together.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess it depends who you ask, but yeah, that's kind of my thing where he thinks an iron fist and fear and whatever I have to do is the best way to rule, and
I
like he
hope they
thinks
Okay.
he knows.
show more of that in season 2, though. Like, I think they really need to dig more into his character. I think otherwise, I don't know. I'll probably still watch it either way, but I feel like I'll definitely lose more interest if he's just kind of a vanilla bad guy, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like when we understand where a villain's coming from, it makes us see why they make the decisions they make. So, even after rewatching that whole scene, I was like, so what is he trying to do? Like, I get it, he's trying to like rule Middle Earth, okay, check. But like why? Like
Why not?
I guess, yeah, I guess why not? It's another answer. But I was just like, oh, okay, this seems like a very convoluted scheme just to be like, I got you. Okay, I'm leaving now. Like,
I guess
I just thought that was weird. Yeah, and I did have a question for you guys. In that reveal scene when Sauron is in Galadriel's mind and showing her visions, and he shows a vision of them in the reflection, and it's him as like, I think as we've seen him in, at least in like the Lord of the Rings movie.
Yeah,
But what was Galadriel? She looked like some weird, I don't know, maybe that is nothing, but in the reflection she looked different. She looked like an ethereal being, and I didn't know if that was a reference to something.
okay, I'm having a old man moment right now. I can't remember what it looked
Yeah,
like, but I
yeah.
think it was what she looks like when Frodo wants to give her the ring. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
she has like that monologue of like basically she's like, if I take this ring, I will rule the world, and I'll do it with an iron fist, like, and I'll do it out of
Mm,
goodness. Like I will have the best intentions in my heart, and that's the whole point of the ring. I will have the best intent in my heart to like help the world, but my idea of helping the world would be to rule it by subjugating the whole entire population of the world, and that's what she
okay.
looks like.
Okay. And then one more question for my slightly more knowledgeable Lord of the Rings friends here. What do the rings do?
That is also another like question people don't exactly know.
I thought they all did the same thing.
No,
Because,
it depends who you ask, but like one thing is that they like enhance certain attributes,
okay.
but the elven rings do have more defined powers. You have to keep in mind Tolkien died before he finished all this stuff.
Yeah,
Oh,
And like
okay.
he left
Okay.
us so much stuff open ended.
his son
Okay.
patched a
Okay.
bunch of stuff together. Christopher Tolkien, right? Like,
Yeah,
I think all the
right.
isn't all the Silmarillion? Isn't that wasn't that finished by Christopher Tolkien, who
He
also
so
isn't
what he
alive anymore, so you can't
yeah
reference him.
Oh, wow.
he died like 2 years ago, I think. But no, so yeah, Christopher Tolkien, he was in charge of the estate, and he didn't write stuff. He just edited. Like his dad wrote so much stuff that he had to spend his whole life like piecing things together and figuring out like what is quote unquote canon, what was like an original idea that got lost. Like that was his whole thing for his whole life, which
Wow.
shows how much Tolkien actually did.
How much content is there? Yeah.
But like one thing I do know, so the Elden Rings have like connections with the elements,
Okay.
and the Ring of Fire. I can't remember the names of them right now.
Yeah, I've got him up right
Uh,
now. Ring of Fire is Narya. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that one is the ring that Gandalf eventually gets. And one of the things that lets the wearer do is to like inspire people to like warm cold hearts. And if you look at Gandalf in Lord of the Rings, like that's kind of his thing where he's always encouraging people and like, pushing people to keep fighting, to keep going on.
I see. So the rings of power are not like the Infinity Stones where they have like a direct tangible power, but they more have.
Some of them do.
They take
yeah, some of them
some
kind
of
of
them
do. Yeah.
Really,
Oh, okay.
Here, that one here says the ring could have possessed the power to see into the future. So I don't know.
Which
I mean,
that's the ring Elrond had, and they say in the movies, and I believe in the books, like he has the gift of foresight.
Oh wow,
So
this is complicated. Okay,
yeah,
so
like,
this is all
like
stuff
the dwarven rings like help them with mining and stuff like that.
Okay.
The one ring, there's speculation that like it helps you tap into the spiritual world of Tolkien, which is what they hint to a lot in the show, and that's why people disappear when they wear it, unless you are a spirit like a Maiar, like Sauron, because then when he wears it, he's already in the spirit world and the physical world, so that's why he doesn't disappear.
this is
There's a lot we don't know.
See them break down more in the next season. I think that could be really.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think, and as we wrap up here, like I think some of the things I would like to see in this next season, because this season really did feel like a prequel. I don't know about you guys, but I felt like I watched a 8-hour prequel for something different. You know what I mean? For something larger. And so I would love if we're going to do hour and 15-minute long episodes in the future, I would rather they don't jump between the 4 plot lines in a whole episode. I feel like that makes it really hard for us as the audience to resonate with what's happening with the individual characters. And I hope that there are more characters that they add to the show, because I think the show needs a bigger net, if you will, of main characters. And more interesting characters. Yeah, I think the show needs a little bit bigger of a net, because I think too many of our characters are one note, and that's probably the biggest complaint that I have. Like Galadriel, she's like I don't know if you guys ever heard of why the oh my gosh, I can't remember the two guys who wrote the Captain America movies. I don't want to get into a tangent. The Russo brothers, thank you. But the Russo brothers, basically, their whole mission was to make Captain America not a one-note character. I feel like that's what Galadriel is. She's a one-note character. Like to me, being too determined is not a character flaw. Elrond, if anything, his character flaw was that he's too work oriented. That's a tangible thing, right? But then some of the other characters, I'm just like, I cannot connect with these characters, like their motives or themselves, or they're not written well. So that's my takeaway from the show. Like I'm very mixed bag about it. It's not the worst thing I've ever watched, and I think the last 3 episodes are really solid. But I would love to see more work done with the characters, that when we get to these emotional scenes, that they mean something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of that. My opinion didn't really change a whole lot throughout the course of the show. I still felt like characters were kind of being forced into this narrative. The original aspects I thought were pretty cool. The showrunners need to kind of decide how much you can't split between what we have to make up and what Tolkien wrote. There needs to be a better blending of that for me to enjoy it more. The rights limitations, it's very apparent. I really hope they can figure something out. Again, great performances. There's a lot of talent in this. The special effects, the costumes, all that stuff is fantastic. It was fun to watch. I'm hoping things improve, and yeah, no, I'll probably watch the next season. Not against it. I'm riding that bandwagon tentatively, and hoping for the best for everybody involved on this.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch the next season. I actually I feel like I enjoyed this more than most people did. There's definitely a lot of stuff that has room for improvement, but I just kind of went in and just I think I just went in with expectations that this wasn't going to be Lord of the Rings, and like it just wasn't going to be written the same because of like the fact that they can't use a lot of material. And I think once I got past that, I just like really enjoyed it for what it is. I definitely hope they like change a lot of this. I think right now I'd probably give it like probably like a 7 out of 10 or a 6.5. Like it's up there, but it's definitely nowhere near a 9, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think if I had to rate it, I'd just probably say it was kind of middle of the road. I'd give it like a 5.5. I think there's like a lot of things to work on, but I mean, hour and 15-minute episodes, man. Let me tell you, that was killer. I was like, damn, son, we're okay. We're invested. We're invested. Well, guys, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for talking about this. We got many more shows, down the road. Here's to a whole new year, whole new show, whole new flow. Everyone listening to our podcast, thanks for listening. From the bottom of myself, Josh, and Alex's heart, we appreciate it. We are grateful for it. If you like what you've heard, please go on our social medias. Let us know that you're listening. Let us know why we're stupid and we don't know anything about Lord of the Rings. Educate us. Smart. Yeah, or why we're smart. I mean, that no one's going to say that. Let's be honest, Alex. But at the bare minimum, tell us why we're wrong. You can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, on Spotify, on Anchor. I think there's one more I'm missing. That's a new one. Doesn't Facebook have a podcast platform now? I think we talked about. Oh boy, yeah, we're everywhere. Anywhere you can get a podcast, we're like Little Caesars, hot and ready, baby. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time. The Bandwagon Fan Podcast is hosted by Josh Jimenez, Alex Mogosa, and me, AJ Soy. Our show is produced by Kate Smith and edited by your boy, AJ. Our social media is managed by Natalia Kokulia, and our theme song, Lush Waves, is provided to us by Taylor Lewin of _audio. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.